accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show live on Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. As always, we are presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Clear, risk-free advice. When you've been in an accident, that's what you need. It's one of the worst days of your life. The Advocates totally understand that. That's why they employ things like empathy, because they understand how you feel. They've seen it all before. They've done it all before. You can trust the Advocates to give you clear, risk-free advice at theadvocates.com. Big breaking news out of the NFL this morning. If you are somehow just waking up and you did not hear that, it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs are working to finalize a trade for DeAndre Hopkins from Tennessee. I don't know that this trade makes a huge impact on the Kansas City Chiefs. They obviously have injuries. I think that DeAndre Hopkins is still a guy that can be a really good possession receiver, can be somebody that can play out of the slot, but let's make this very clear. He's not replacing Rashee Rice, and I think this is an important point. He's replacing Juju Smith-Schuster as a possession receiver in that offense. I just don't think this makes the huge splash that I think a lot of people thought that they would make.
Absolutely. And I think that, it's being received as that because obviously DeAndre Hopkins has had a really good career, but you have to understand where he's at in his career. Obviously on the back end, not nearly the guy that he used to be. Now, I do agree with people who are, saying, hey, the Chiefs, for the Chiefs, this makes sense because they've been able to get a lot out of guys that maybe other organizations haven't been able to. So I understand it from their side of things. And I think we've all talked about over the course of the season that wide receiver room and Patrick Mahomes' options haven't exactly been scintillating this season. And frankly, haven't been amazing since Tyreek, was left the organization and everything. So this makes sense to me, but I would agree. I don't think it's some like, oh man, this is like a number one wide receiver that's going to come in and provide this huge lift to their offense.
Now, I would point out that the Chiefs have the easiest strength of schedule remaining, and adjusted for what's happened during the season, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL. And it's going to be interesting to see, how long it takes DeAndre Hopkins to get into that offense. That is a very intricate, difficult offense to learn quickly. I think we've seen that. It's taken Xavier Worthy, for instance. What are we, 5 weeks into the season? And he's still 5-6 weeks into the season here, and he's still not fully capable, according to the Chiefs anyways. So it takes time for guys to come in and fit into that system, but I don't think there's any doubt this is a deal that had to be made for the Chiefs. So it is not final yet. It is expected to be finalized today, according to Adam Schefter at ESPN. When that goes final and that trade is official, because it looks like it's happening, we'll have all the latest on that for you coming up in about 55 minutes or so. A lot more NFL, but let's kick off the show talking about Big 12 power rankings, because it seems like we've had a week of controversy on the show talking about the Big 12 and talking about who the best team in the Big 12 is. And Monday, the Big 12 panic room, which clearly caused panic in the comments section on the show. And we've had debate really all season long about who the elites in the Big 12 are, if in fact there are any elites. And really, I think we've seen a lot of changing narratives in this league, whether that be Utah's collapse, whether that be Oak State never being competitive in the conference this season. There's a lot of narratives, more of them focused on the bottom of the league than the top of the league. But let's get into Big 12 power rankings. And I ask you, who is in contention here as the best team in the Big 12? I think there's only two. It is BYU or it is Iowa State. And I know yesterday a lot of people in the comments section from Manhattan were asking, Monty, why do you hate K-State? Again, I've never said I hate K-State. I think K-State goes as far as Avery Johnson is willing to take them. Or really, I guess the word is capable of taking them. And I still have not seen anything from Avery Johnson that makes me think that K-State is one of those football teams that can call themselves the best team in the Big 12 right now. I do not believe that K-State's in that conversation. I think BYU has shown you defensively, offensively, special teams. They have that special moment multiple times, whether it's the punt return from Kingston or this past week with Darius Lassiter and Jake Retzloff. They've had those moments repeatedly. They have the it factor this year. K-State does not. Their defense, in my opinion, is what's going to carry them. And anytime your offensive identity is running the football, I just don't think that you can be called the best team in the league.
Absolutely. And I think that, K-State is it's one of those situations where K-State has, a big play here, a big play there, right? Like, a lot of people say Avery Johnson is they want to say that Avery Johnson's this great thrower of the football. But, I think when just the same way we can delve into scheduling and, we can delve into these different parts of a football team season, we can easily sit here and say that, Avery Johnson isn't prolific in that part of his game. He's had some opportunities, and yes, he's taken advantage of those opportunities and deserves a lot of credit for that. But when we talk about the best team in the conference, which squad is the most sound, the most well-rounded, I don't think you can say that K-State is in that conversation because they are so biased towards the run. And I think, you look at, like, for all of you K-State fans who watched the BYU game earlier in the year, I mean, just the way that game went down, there was no get back for K-State in that game. And I understand it's Provo, it's at night. BYU came out and basically shot out of a cannon, in that first half and basically took control, big plays. I get it. But ultimately, when you look at the conference, you have to ask the question, okay, well, we've got these two in BYU and Iowa State, and then there's K-State sitting here, and there's a clear difference. BYU and Iowa State are more well-rounded football teams. They don't need to just run for 250 yards a game to win a ball game. They don't need to just pass. They can run, they can pass, but they can also beat you defensively. And I think that's the thing that it's not a criticism per se. It's not us hating on K-State. It's just the reality of the situation. And that's why I think K-State is in a lot of closer ball games going to the second half. It's why K-State, seemingly has these big highlights late in games. This past week against Colorado, picking on that freshman corner to go out and try to win a ball game. Like that's what you see out of K-State. So I just, we've seen all these comments and everyone's saying, oh, well, you guys just hate K-State. And that's just not the case. I think when you take a legitimate, unbiased look at the team, you can clearly see they're one cut below BYU and Iowa State. And I just don't think that that's hating or that's sensational to say that.
All right, let's start with the worst team in the Big 12 and just looking at the numbers and looking, at the eye test. I don't think it's Houston. And I know that will surprise a lot of people. Houston's biggest issue is they've not been able to score points, but their defense has actually put them in a lot of positions where I feel like if they had any ability to score points, you wouldn't be getting beaten 20-0 by Iowa State, but you only gave up 20 points to Iowa State. You lost to Oklahoma 16-12. They've been competitive. Now, did they get torched by Kansas 42-14? They did. Did they beat TCU 30-19? They did. Which is why I think Oklahoma State's the worst team in the Big 12 right now at 0-4 in conference with inarguably just an absolutely atrocious defense. They're but statistically speaking, and we did this last week, statistically speaking, They are the second worst defense, only behind Texas Tech, who's not the worst team in the conference. But if you start looking at some of the numbers defensively, Oklahoma State's the worst defensive team in the conference. 490 yards a game defensively they're giving up. They're giving up 6.6 yards per play. They've given up 25 touchdowns, for crying out loud. I know a lot of us whine and complain about Casey Dunn, and he should have been gone a long time ago. This defense is just as big a problem as the Oak State offense, and that's why I have Oklahoma State as the worst team in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, and I think adding on to that, like the expectations for Oklahoma State at the beginning of the year were you were going to compete to win this conference, and I think that's why it's so shocking where this team is at. I mean, the fall off year over year is truly incredible. I mean, you look at Houston, and nobody was saying, oh, well, Houston's going to go out and contend to win this conference, or Houston's going to do this. No one's saying that. We know that where Houston's at in their process, and that's why, when you bring up that stat about 449 yards or 494 yards, given up like a game, it's an incredible stat, because you're looking at this team and you're looking at a coach in Mike Gundy who in simple terms just knows better. Like Mike Gundy knows, hey, like that's not going to be good enough. And it surprises me. And we're very careful on this show not to say, hey, you should fire everybody or fire this guy or fire that guy. But it does surprise me. What are you waiting for? The season's over. At this point, you're just burning opportunities in recruiting. You're burning opportunities in the portal. So I would agree with both expectations and analytics. Oklahoma State is the worst team in the Big 12. And I know that sucks to say. I know that Okie Light's going to be all upset and we're going to get criticized for that. But it's true. And I'm waiting for Mike Gundy to do something about it. And I'm surprised he has not yet.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think Mike Gundy is not on. I just don't think he is that guy that's all in on winning a conference championship and a national championship. I just don't think that's who he is. I think after that, then it's Houston. I think, surprisingly, I'm struggling to figure out a way to keep UCF from being the third worst team in this league. And I don't know how you do that. Offensively, obviously UCF in total offense is a juggernaut. But in total defense, they're not. But I mean, it should probably be Kansas or Baylor. But you've seen signs of life from Kansas now. And Kansas's defense is actually pretty good. Kansas's defense has only given up 15 touchdowns. I think the awful start that Kansas got out to earlier is why we're having this conversation. And to me, that's why I think if you look at the other contenders at the bottom of this league, I think you're looking at Oak State, Houston, and then that third worst team, Arizona. I think Baylor certainly has to be there, although I don't know what that offensive explosion was this past week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is very much those bottom two teams. I think Oak State and Houston. And then you got to go up to K-State and BYU and Iowa State. Because I don't know that there's a whole lot that separates. Hell, even Utah, I think you have to. Is Utah the third worst team in the league? They're not. But are they exponentially better than Baylor, Arizona, Kansas? They're not.
Yeah, I mean, they're in that group of, you look at the standings, there's what is this, 5-6 teams here that are 1-3 in conference, but each of those 1-3s, 1-3 records is different. And those teams have come to that 1-3 record in a different way. And I tend to agree. There was a lot of noise yesterday, in the college football world about the fact that, UCF had several, defensive players get in the portal and do the whole redshirt thing. And, people were kind of freaking out about that. And I just don't think that that's necessarily indicative of whether a team's playing good football or bad football or the situation. I mean, I think people like to say, oh, well, players are leaving the program. Gus must be doing a bad job. And I just don't think that that's the case. I think
he's not doing a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, but I don't think that it's this whole exodus in the portal that people are making it out to be. I think that UCF is just inconsistent, and that's been the story of their season. Some weeks they're, a 45-point offense, and other weeks they put up 10 points, which is why you're getting a quarterback change, which is why, we'll get to this later in the week, but I think this BYU UCF game is going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I think that there are some interesting conversations around, where is Cincinnati in the league? That's a 5-2 team that's 3-1 in conference, and I think they're much better than most people thought they would be, and I think Scott Satterfield's done a really nice job there. I think is Cincinnati better than TCU? Certainly they are, but are they really better than West Virginia? Is Cincinnati better than Texas Tech? Yeah, I think they are. Is Utah better than Texas Tech? Yeah, I think they are. I do believe they are. But I think the middle of this conference, there's not much separation there. There's not. The top 5, if you look at, is Arizona State truly better than Utah? I mean, they beat them on the field, and they physically beat them on the field. So I think you probably would, if Utah is 5, 6, 7 in this league, I would probably take Arizona State. Again, here's a question: where does Colorado rank in this conference? I believe they're probably 4th. They're probably 4th, I would think. But is there a lot of separation between Colorado and Utah? I actually think there is. I think there's a lot of separation.
I think there's in 2 very different directions.
I think there's a lot of separation between Colorado and Arizona State. I think there is a lot of separation there. I just think you look at the way that the Big 12 has gone through this season, the middle of the pack is fat. There are a lot of teams in the middle of that pack. So I think if you held my feet to the fire and said, who are the 3 worst teams in this league? Oak State, Houston, Baylor would probably be the 3rd worst, UCF, and then I think you're probably looking at that Kansas, Arizona, TCU group. I think that's where I would be. Now, at the top of the conference, I think this is a much easier conversation to have. Who is the best team in this league? Well, I don't think there's any doubt that it's Iowa State. I don't even hesitate. I was doing a radio interview yesterday, and I was being asked about, what makes Rocco Becht as good as he has been for them. Because Rocco Becht is not spectacular. But Rocco Becht is really solid. And I think what makes Rocco Becht one of the better moment-to-moment quarterbacks in this league is he treats every snap the same way, with the same intensity, the same desire to be elite. You can see that he is prepared in the details. And I think Rocco Becht is, if you look at these top 3-4 teams, is Rocco Becht Shedeur Sanders? He's not. But he's good enough that he's not going to kill you. And I think he's good enough, he'll win you games.
Yeah, and I think the big difference for Rocco is obviously they don't need him to be Shedeur Sanders. That's kind of the thing for Iowa State, is that because there's a much more balanced team on both sides of the football, his job is just to go out there and execute the play that's called and execute it at a high level. We don't have to talk about, running around or surviving or, having to make these crazy plays the way we do with Shedeur. And I really do think it's why, Matt Campbell's team overall is, whether it's Rocco or you look at the defense or any of the other areas of his team, you look at it, you say, yeah, these guys are just trying to do, their job. And when they do that, they're a tough team to beat. And I think it's why, I'm a big fan of, points for, points against, that analytic to judge a football team. And the fact that you've only allowed 72 points is, really says something and tells me not only is your defense playing well, but you're possessing the football and you're running good offense. And Rocco is obviously right in the middle of that. And I would agree that is why I think, that consistency and that discipline is why you should have Iowa State at the top of the conference.
Well, and I think the other part of this conversation is that defense has to be elite because Rocco Beck's not spectacular, and this offense isn't going to score you, 30, 40 points a week. And maybe not 30, 40 points ever. And you start looking at the way that Iowa State has won their games, and you ask yourself, okay, well, 21 against North Dakota, 20 against Iowa, 52 against Arkansas State. Okay. 20 against Houston, 43 against Baylor, West Virginia 28, and then 38-35 in an odd game against UCF.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that this offense, and what are they ranked 7th in the Big 12 at Iowa State? The biggest issue is you're through 7 games now, and you know who you are as a quarterback. And I think Rocco Becht is solid. He's not a spectacular, but I think he is the reason on top of that defense, because the defense is absolutely what carries Iowa State. But he's going to make plays and decisions in critical moments in a game where you're playing down to UCF in your own building. Rocco Becht made a couple of decisions there that saved that game for Iowa State. And I think that's why they're the best team. I also think that Jake Retzloff is why BYU is not the best team in this league. And I think I as much as I love Jake Retzloff, we've talked about it. But if we start looking at Jake's numbers, the completion percentage is glaring at this point. If you look at the quarterbacks in this league, Isaac Wilson's completed 55% of his passes. Garrett Green has completed 56% of his passes. Jalen Daniels, 56%. And then Jake Retzloff at 59%.
Mm-hmm.
The percentage of passes completed by Jake Retzloff has got to improve. If he was 65%, they would be the best offense in the Big 12. If he were 65%, they would be unquestionably the best team in the Big 12. I don't think it would even be a conversation. BYU would be the best team. But I think some of this is very much what we have talked about on the regular about BYU. I put a lot of these issues on play calling and situational awareness in the coaching staff. I think situationally, the play calls have hurt Jake Retzloff. They do not RPO him enough. They do not give him that halfback pitch play enough. They do not call designed runs for him enough. And if they would run the ball more, I think Jake Retzloff would have an easier time completing passes. Because it's no longer, you're noticing Jake Retzloff is improving in those deep throws down the field. Those are getting better now. Time and space, those are getting better now. The plays where Jake is starting to you're seeing he's starting to struggle. The JoJo Phillips screen pass the other night against Oak State, where that ball's going 100 miles an hour and JoJo has no chance to catch that. You look at even the Chase Roberts critical first down catches we saw in that game. Chase Roberts is catching it with a lot of sauce on it. So instead of calling that screen out to the right, run the football. There was no reason to call the halfback option to Rapati. Run the football.
Yeah, and I think offensive flow is a huge component to a quarterback's, overall, like just success in vibe in a game. And I agree with your assessment of the play calling. I think, the thing is it would be one thing if it was like, well, this offense is undermanned, maybe under talented, you got to try to get cute, or you got to do these different things that, to try to get over the top on the opposition. But that's not the case for BYU. And it's not just us saying it anymore. For the record, BYU does have the best wide receiver room in the conference and one of the best in the country. And so then I have to shift to your point about running it more. The running back room has admittedly been hurt a lot this year.
Too much.
No
Far
question
too much.
about it. No question about it. And it's limited, I think, BYU's ability and Aaron Roderick's ability to get comfortable running it more. But what I can't get past is the in-the-moment, down and distance, time on the clock, situational play calling, where your running back room is healthy against Oklahoma State. You are running for 7 yards a carry. He knows those analytics. They're right in front of him. and you're choosing not to. And that's the part when we talk about Retzloff's completion percentage and the play calling where I'm like, hey, maybe if you were running it more, the defense would come closer to the line and he wouldn't necessarily have to, be running around constantly trying to make these throws. And yeah, it does overexpose his inability to put touch on the ball when he's throwing it out into the flat or in these certain situations. So I completely agree with that. But I also think on that same coin on the other side, like Jake Retzloff's ability to make the big play and to be prepared in the big moment is also a huge reason why they are where they are. So
Yeah.
It definitely is this thing where if Aaron Roderick can dial in that play calling more,
yes,
I have no doubt that if BYU and Iowa State, let's say, were to wind up in Arlington together, that would be one of the best pure college football games I think we would get this year because of Jake's ability to throw the football.
Yeah, and I think then you have to go to this conversation about where is K-State, and let's have a real conversation about K-State because I think people have gotten so upset. My issue with K-State has not changed from the moment that Will Howard. Did you guys see Will Howard yesterday meeting with the media at Ohio State? Did you hear what Will Howard said? I'm like watching Will Howard's press conference yesterday, and it's everything you want a quarterback to say. Like it's gnawing at him that last play. He talked about his decision-making throughout the game. He talked about, being able to handle the moment throughout the game. And then he got into that last play, and he's watched it over and over and over. Could I have done this? Should I have done that? How would I handle it differently? Maybe I get down. Maybe I don't run in the middle. I step out of bounds. Everything you want your quarterback to say. So frame this in, how did K-State football change the minute that Will Howard left? And I should say, the moment that you pushed Will Howard out the door. I think you put a guy in Avery Johnson in there who, frankly, just isn't ready to pass you to a Big 12 championship. Now, the proof is going to be in the pudding, right? You look at the passing numbers in this league, and you look at where K-State is. They're 11th in the league in passing. Okay, well, hey, Marty, what if we look at rushing stats, Marty? There's no question this is an elite rushing offense. Nobody questions, is Avery Johnson an elite rushing quarterback? Absolutely he is.
Facts.
Yes. There is no doubt about the fact that he is an elite runner of the football. But then when we start getting into Avery Johnson's statistics, he's only thrown the ball 178 times. Well, I wonder why that is. And why is that 10th in the league in attempts? I'm curious why that is when Rocco Beck's over 200. Jake Retzloff's at 205. Rocco Beck and Jake Retzloff have very similar statistics, by the way. Brendan Sorsby, 232. Alan Bowman, 233, with who should be the best running back in the country.
And
allegedly.
by the way, Alan Bowman missing time, right? Alan
Still
Bowman
has
233
attempts. Like you're looking at a guy at Avery Johnson at K-State that when you look at his numbers, and I'm talking about this because this right here, this is the conversation for all of the guys in Manhattan who want to know why I don't believe that K-State's the best team in this conference, because obviously I was called an idiot. I was told yesterday in the comment section that I just don't care enough to watch K-State football. Okay, which is fine. I love guy who always goes to, well, I disagree with you, so you must not watch K-State. Okay, you look at Avery Johnson, and you have to ask yourself, okay, he's got 14 touchdowns. Okay, he's only got 5 interceptions, some critical ones against BYU. So he averages 200 yards a game. And when you look at efficiency, that's the number that you really want to hang on to, because he's 4th in the Big 12 in passing efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes that possible? Their ability to run the football. His ability to run the football. if they're going to win a conference championship, and it's all in front of them, I would remind you, if they're going to win a conference championship, he's got to throw the football at a higher clip, because you're starting to see defenses step up and stop the run. And when you start looking at, well, let's have a look at their schedule. Their best win is probably that Colorado win. Probably that Colorado win without Jimmy Horn and without Travis Hunter. That's their best win. The West Virginia game, I think we're all incredibly disappointed at that performance for West Virginia. But
right. Yeah.
Neil Brown needs fired. I think we all get it. You're going to go on a run here where you have one difficult game left. And it's the last game of the year against Iowa State.
But think about that Arizona State game. And they should beat Arizona State 100%.
At home,
yeah,
that game's in Manhattan.
You should beat Arizona State. But for a football team in K-State who is run heavy and then works off of that, because if for all those people who say we never watch K-State football, if we never watch K-State football, then how the hell would we know that the impetus of their offense is, hey, we're going to run the football early and often, and we're going to test you and see, hey, what does that look like? You notice that you don't really catch Avery Johnson throwing bombs in the first quarter. You notice you don't see that? Yeah, the reason you don't see that is because they're testing the defense. They're saying, okay, do we even need to ask Avery to throw the football? Can we just, hand it off to the running back room or run some RPO or whatever, and do that? And so my point with the Arizona State game is that Arizona State is this team that is chippy and physical and is more than happy to play a game where you're going to run the football and play smash mouth and be physical. And that's one of those games where I think it's a tester game. I think that's a good measuring stick for how a quarterback would overcome that style of play. And I think it's a good point. If Colorado has their guys and is fully healthy, we're probably having a different conversation. Now, you won the ball game. He did make the throw. Feel good about it. But I'm just telling you, moving forward, looking at the Iowa State game to end your season, what is the conversation going to be if Avery isn't able to get over the hump throwing the football against that damn good defense?
And you've got a top 5 back in the Big 12 in DJ Giddens, so you're going to do that. I think Avery Johnson is 20th in the league on his own in rushing. I mean, you have the ability to run the ball, and it's what I say about Taj Brooks at Texas Tech or RJ Harvey at UCF or LJ Martin at BYU for that matter. Run the football.
Right.
And they do it at a very high level. And I think we all can agree, all of these guys are who they're going to be. Jake Retzloff is not going to complete 65% of his passes. Avery Johnson's not going to throw the ball 40 times a game. You are who you are at this point. We're going into Halloween week. You are who you are.
Right.
And I think that's a big story for K-State. Can they run the ball to a conference championship? We're going to find out. And I think you don't have another difficult road test until Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
Because going to Houston, hey, maybe Houston has one in them. I don't know. But going to Houston is not a tough road test. It is not. And if we look at BYU's schedule, we're going to find out. They got to go to UCF, which is always challenging. To Utah, always challenging. To Arizona State, that's going to be challenging. You've only got 2 home games left. That's how it's not early anymore.
Right.
We're not developing patterns anymore. You are who you are. And I think right now, Iowa State's number 1. I think BYU's number 2, and then I think there is a significant fall off to K-State at number 3.
Yeah, and I think the whether you listen to this show or anybody else, everyone has Iowa State winning the conference and BYU getting into the first round.
Yep.
And I think that's fair. I think it's proper.
And I also think it's tough for a guy like Avery Johnson while we're talking K-State. Listen, if you look at the quarterbacks in this league and you look at the quality of quarterback in this league, Shedeur Sanders is completing 72% of his passes. He's thrown the ball 270 times. He's got 19 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions on 270 of pass attempts. That's obscene.
Yes.
Those numbers, I mean, he's 161.6 efficiency rating. That's obscene. He's averaging 324 yards a game. That's obscene. What he is doing with that offensive line. I mean, you look at how many of these guys are truly elite. Shedeur Sanders is arguably the best quarterback in the country. Brendan Sorsby, he's good, not great, but his numbers are ridiculous. I am telling you, Josh Hoover is an NFL quarterback. You look at some of the numbers. Do you think Shedeur's numbers are obscene? Josh Hoover's thrown the ball 277 times, 6 interceptions, 16 touchdowns, 324 yards a game, and he's 150 in efficiency. His efficiency rating's 150 with what's going on at TCU.
It's really good.
He's elite. I look at Baron Morton with just a horrendous defense. A horrendous defense. Thrown the ball 270 times, 3 interceptions.
Like, Tech's a really good example. Tech's a really good
It's
example
wild.
of this concept with K-State. Texas Tech is this team that has no defense, like literally can't stop anybody, and has this quarterback in Baron Morton who can throw it all over the field. Great arm, great quarterback, can do everything you need. You've got Taj Brooks in the backfield. Like, it's quintessential one-sided football in the Big 12, which is why I say for Tech fan or K-State fan or whoever you want to look at, the reality of the situation is you're right. We do know who these teams are. We do, we do know what to expect on a week in and week out basis. And, I also saw all the Tech fans in the comment yesterday saying, oh, well, you guys just, you don't appreciate Tech. You don't it's crazy to say that Joey should be on the hot seat, and like basically just criticizing us over our thoughts on Texas Tech. And I'm sitting here asking the question of, isn't Texas Tech the best example of a team in the conference that if the coaching staff was better and the team was more well-rounded and were playing better defense, you'd be competing for this conference? I mean, if I said to you, hey, is Texas Tech's offense not good enough to compete week in and week out in this conference? Well, of course it is. But the problem is they have to put up so many damn points that it doesn't matter. And that's where I say, like, this could easily be, like, I get it. Tech's in a good spot right now, but nobody's saying that they're top class in this conference. Nobody's even saying they're second cut for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the question of, is Iowa State better than BYU, their defense is elite, and it's the story of Iowa State every single year. And I think Rocco Becht has taken just that little step forward, because he's not exponentially better than he was last year, but he's good enough, and he's just better enough for them to win this conference. And I think BYU is going to have an almost impossible task of going undefeated the rest of the way. And I think that if BYU loses a game, it cannot be 2 losses.
No.
If BYU loses a game, I mean, you have the hammer on K-State. You're gonna have to really fight for everything that you want, because I still maintain, and I get it, I'm wrong about everything, but BYU has to be undefeated to go to the college football playoff, in my opinion. They will not get in if they don't win the conference. If they lose a game, they will have to win the conference to get in. If they lose one game and they don't win the conference, so let's say that they go to the conference championship and lose, they're not getting in. The respect is not there. I think it would be very difficult. That's the only probability. The only probable scenario is you go to the conference championship undefeated and you lose, you're going to be right on the line. If you do not go undefeated in the rest of this season, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to get in.
Yeah, and I think that point about go to the conference championship and lose that game, also not helping your case is the fact that once you have that loss, all the you're now in that cut of team as far as the playoff is concerned with all the other one-loss teams, and at that point, you don't have that trump card. And obviously
Texas or BYU.
Right, exactly. Right. So like that's the hard part with the SEC and the Big Ten. And I know, what was it, Monday? I think, we showed Brett McMurphy's, playoff predictor, and ESPN's got theirs going, and everyone's saying, hey, Iowa State's going to win the conference and BYU will get in with one loss. But I agree. Like that does bring me hesitation. It brings me reason for pause. Like, yeah, I'm not sure that we can definitively say that at the end of the year, soccer writer guy is going to be like, one loss BYU. I struggle with that. And I know that that's not what everyone agrees with. But
and here's the biggest issue for BYU. Do you have a quality opponent left on your schedule? You hear that deafening silence?
Yeah.
So if you lose on this schedule, and this is what concerns me because we all have very short memories. K-State's a nice win. Is SMU a good win? How many soccer writers in the AP have seen SMU this year? I don't know. And the K-State win is by far your best win.
Right.
Everybody saw it. It was on national TV. It was talked about. The punt return, the vomit on the field. Everybody saw it. So it's going to be difficult for BYU if you lose at UCF, if you lose at Utah, Kansas, at Arizona State, or Houston. That's going to be awfully tough to tell the story. Who's going to sit at the table and fight for you? Because that's what this stuff always comes down to. It's the same thing for K-State. K-State's out of margin of error. And if you lose to Kansas, who's going to sit at the table and fight for a 2-loss K-State team? And probably nobody. If you lose to Houston, Arizona State, Cincinnati, here's a bigger question. If you're a 2-loss team and your losses are BYU and Iowa State, who's fighting for a 2-loss K-State team that lost to BYU and Iowa State? Now, if it's an undefeated Iowa State who beat an undefeated BYU, okay, I can tell that story. Depth, good quality at the top of the Big 12. You cannot go to Ames and lose that game, in my opinion. K-State has to win that game.
Totally agree. Has
to win that game. And it's what I chastised BYU fan for the other day. One game at a time. It's not time to talk about Iowa State. So if you're K-State, it's not time to talk about Sorsby in Cincinnati or, Scattaboo in Arizona State, the Fighting Dillinghams. No, it's time to talk about Jalen Daniels in Kansas.
Who, I might add, are playing better football by their standards.
Way better football.
Way better football.
Way better football.
So that's not just a gimme.
And I understand that they lost 5 in a row and it was horrendous. But if you look at the last couple of weeks, they've figured something out. Even in the Arizona State loss, they held Leavitt to 157 yards. Now he threw 4 touchdowns. But Jalen Daniels had 260 yards passing and 2 scores in that game. And you look at some of the numbers in that game, and yeah, they're not good. But Kansas, they were 60% on third down, 7 of 13. And you said they lost they put up 400 yards offense. So you said they lost the game. Yeah, they lost the game. Oh, that's interesting. They ran for 150 yards on that defense and they lost the game. Put up really good numbers and they lost the game. And I think they learned something in that game. Now, all of this to say, I still think Jalen Daniels is a wildly talented cat who's got 8 interceptions and 10 touchdowns. Yeah, can't do that. Right? No. You can't do that.
But the point remains that they are putting up better numbers. They are, like, just from a strength of competition standpoint, I don't believe that Kansas is just an absolute gimme lay down. Lay down.
They're not a lay down.
They're not a lay down.
They're not a lay down. And I think it's going to be fun to watch the season come to an end. I think it's going to be the next month. It's going to be wildly entertaining. And I think if you're an Iowa State fan, I think you're going to have a tough time staying focused because this Texas Tech game, coming out of that UCF game,
it's dangerous.
It's a very dangerous game. Obviously, you got to go to you got to play Kansas on the road, Cincinnati, and then everything's going to probably for you come down to at Utah on November 23rd. I'll be in Hawaii. I don't know where you guys will be, but that's all. It's all going to come down to that game.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be really interesting to see, hey, how does this shake out? Who's going to lose in the next 2 weeks and tank their season? Who's going to lose and tank their season? And who's going to, because again, I would point you to the AP poll. And I know everybody is going to tell me, oh, Marty, AP is totally get it. But what's our measuring stick right now? If we look at this conference right now, what's our measuring stick? The AP poll.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're BYU, there's a couple of things that stand out here, by the way. Who's at number 22? So is that really a quality win? And what if SMU loses? Because doesn't SMU have Pitt coming up here?
I think that's correct, yeah.
What if SMU loses to Pitt? Because that is Pitt, who I think has played an incredibly soft schedule. Kent State, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Youngstown State, North Carolina, and Cal. Yeah, I'm not excited about that.
But what happens if SMU wins that ball game? Does SMU become, I mean, I hesitate to say that SMU is ever going to be a quality win, but if you're ranked, I mean, that's still a ranked opponent.
Well, Pitt might want to worry about Syracuse tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Kyle McCords.
Yeah. But if you look at SMU, what if SMU loses again? Their one loss is to BYU. At Duke, Pitt, Boston College, at Virginia, Cal. You can't lose one of those games.
Nope.
Can't do it. So I think that's very interesting that SMU is at 22 for BYU. You need them to move up. If you're a BYU fan, you are also a Pittsburgh fan because you want Pitt to win. And if you're a BYU fan, you want SMU to beat Pitt in 2 weeks.
And I also think if you're a BYU fan, you want K-State to win some ball games.
You need K-State to keep winning.
Yeah.
You need K-State to keep winning because I think there's so little room for error here. And what this tells me is you have 2 7-0 teams that are barely in the top 10 and one is outside the top 10. And I get it. Nobody wants to give respect to the AP poll. Well, guess what? What does the College Football Playoff Committee do? Do they give respect to the AP top 25? Yeah, they do. When they're sitting around the table and they're like, well, that was a ranked SMU team. Hey, SMU finished 17th in the country and BYU beat them. And K-State and BYU beat what ranked in what though? Because BYU fan yesterday was pretty hard in the comment section that the AP poll doesn't matter. As much as I hate the AP poll, why do I rail that they have soccer writers? Because the thing matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing we have in college football to sort of compare apples and oranges in a sense. It's the only thing that we have that, allows us to say, yeah, BYU beat this team, but that team, like, it allows us to have the conversation. And I think, it's been my concern, frankly, since we're talking Big 12 today, it's been my concern for the Big 12, even with, 3 teams in the top 25 right now. I mean, do you only still get one if BYU is a one-loss team? Because, and again, we're presuming, by the way, we're just putting that scenario out. What happens if BYU wins the conference and Iowa State's the one that's picking up the loss? At that point, then it's all flipped on your head because everybody's got Iowa State, winning the conference.
Iowa State is universally respected as the best team in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And I talk to people all over the country, man, and nobody thinks that BYU is legit. Everybody thinks that they're just, they're having a good year. It's a Big 12. You know how many times I've heard that? They're having a good year, but it's a Big 12. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard that. It's SMU. They bought their way into the ACC. Cannot tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yeah, and it's a Big 12 thing. Utah's not helping that.
You start looking at this and you start to understand that there's a respect problem for the Big 12. And I think it's My prediction stands. They're getting one team in, their conference champion. That's it. That's it. Because I think if you follow the roadmap to how you get 2 in, I think it's almost impossible to get 2 in.
Yeah.
I think it's almost impossible. And I'll go back to what I said about the Big Ten. The Big Ten gets the benefit of the doubt. Well, it's the Big Ten, Monty. But Monty, it's the Big Ten. Yeah. But Monty, it is the Big Ten. And when you look at the Big Ten, if I said to you, hey, Indiana's going to the Big Ten championship game, well, how are we going to get Penn State in then? How are we going to get Ohio State? Because you guys understand that Ohio State at 2-1 with a conference loss is now behind Wisconsin, Illinois, Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana. So Ohio State's getting in. Did I mention that they're also the 4th-ranked team in the country? Ohio State's getting in.
I mean, maybe that's the best point. Like Ohio State has that respect. Nobody's questioning if Ohio State's. Nobody's saying, oh, well, it's Big Ten. No one's saying that as a slight. They're saying, oh, it's the Big Ten, it's Ohio State. You know, they're good every year. And this has kind of been my thing this football season for the Big 12. Like, they don't get the benefit of the doubt. They don't get that, oh, yeah.
Ohio State's getting in.
Yeah. Like, they don't get
K-State's getting in. Okay.
Yeah. Like, look at the bias. And this is something we didn't quite get to on Monday with the AP, but the bias of putting Oregon as the number 1 ranked team in the country right now is truly incredible to me, given what Georgia did to Texas. Nobody's talking about the absolute wizardry, the witchcraft of that Georgia defense against Texas and what they did. Like, Georgia's the best team in the country by my estimation. Now,
I agree.
I think you got to put Oregon number 2, just on respect. 1 ball games, beat Ohio State. Okay, they're number 2, and then it's Texas and Ohio State. And I just, you know, I for the Big 12's sake, I hope that you get to it. I really do. But I have to agree. I can't see somebody saying, "Oh yeah, man, BYU played in the Big 12. Man, even as a 1-loss team, they're in. That's a good conference."
Do you guys understand how important Penn State, Wisconsin is this weekend? Do you understand the magnitude of that football game? That is.
Well, Monty, it's Wisconsin.
You know what it is? It's at Camp Randall Stadium in prime time, 7:30 on NBC Eastern. Do you understand? It's, you know, here comes Saturday night.
Yeah.
NBC, the cock, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
It is a massive game. It is huge. I don't know how else. If Wisconsin wins that game, the Big Ten's in trouble. The Big Ten is in trouble if Wisconsin wins that game, because Wisconsin's also got Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska, and Minnesota left. So Wisconsin's not running the table.
No.
If you're a Big Ten fan, you need Penn State to win that game. And I don't know if they will. And, oh, by the way, I would not want to be Nebraska this weekend, because watching Ohio State's press availability, my God, they are looking for they're looking for bodies. They're looking for dudes.
Yeah.
Like,
and I would be too. I mean, if you're Ohio State, you know, looking at, you know, what's left, like, I get it. Indiana's still on your schedule. Michigan's still on your schedule, even as bad as they are.
4 massive football games in Columbus.
It's like, do you see what I mean?
Nebraska, they're at Penn State, Happy Ending Valley.
Yeah.
Big noon kickoff in 2 weeks. And so, again, how big is this Wisconsin game for Penn State? Massive, because then they go home to take on the Ohio State. It's huge. And so I look at Ohio State, Nebraska at Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, and then Indiana in Bloomington. Or no, excuse me, that's at the Shoe.
Is Indiana still there when that game is played? Are they still in the picture?
I mean, I Googled Kirk Cignetti, so,
yeah,
you know.
I mean, come on, dude.
You guys remember Kirk? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Kirk Cignetti, the head coach at Indiana. You don't know who I am? You don't. Do we still have that clip? We don't. Damn. Kirk Cignetti told the media, Google me.
I just win. And by the way, I might point out he was asked about recruiting, and that was his answer.
What is your pitch to recruits? Google me. I win. Google me. Which is not what Jim Morris said. I want to play this bite from Jim Mora. If the kids are around, you might want to hit mute for a moment. This is 49 seconds of awesomeness. Let me set this up for you. UConn is fighting to show that they are not, what did duck season call Utah all the time? Poverty program.
Because it's garbage.
If there was a poverty program, it is UConn football.
Program.
But UConn's actually having a decent year. They're coming down the stretch against Wake Forest. They're trailing 23-20. They need a play to get into field goal range. Drop back. Throw it out to the left. On a rope. Incomplete. Well, why was it incomplete? Oh, that's right, because the Wake Forest defensive back had a full hand, and the official is standing right behind, like right here, and you clearly see the official can see it. Hand on shoulder pad, pulling with the right hand, pushing with the left hand on the wide receiver, and the ball is here. Perfect throw right to the boundary. No flag. Not a holding flag, not a defensive pass interference flag, none of it. The drive stalled. UConn lost. And, Jim Mora was not happy.
Out of them for fighting back. We've got to make sure that we put ourselves in a position where it doesn't come down to one play where an ACC team makes a horseshit call against an independent. And that's up to us to play better at the start of the game so it doesn't come down to that call, which was holding and PI. And that's what I told them, and we'll come back and we'll fight. So it's on us to play better earlier, but it'd sure be nice if it was a level playing field. Questions, anyone?
Yeah, Jim, I mean, obviously the way it came down is not...
Yeah, it was a hold and a PI. Hold and a PI.
Did you get an explanation from anyone?
Here's your explanation. ACC versus independent. There's your explanation, Dom. It's pretty fucking simple.
That was the... I know that seems like a short clip. That was the entirety of the press conference.
Dude.
That was the beginning and the end. That's it.
It's pretty bleeping simple. Okay.
That's it. That was the whole press conference. And I got to say, I don't disagree with him. How do you not call that? Well, Jim, maybe if you had non-campus stadium and you weren't an independent, I mean, I'm throwing it out there. But I don't know how you don't call that. It was clearly, and you can go look at it.
Yeah, it's clearly, it's not in question.
It is a whole hand of jersey pulling and a whole left hand on the back pushing. The cat never had a chance to get the football. And I just appreciate Jim Mora ending us up in hour number one. Hour number two of the Monty Show is always presented by our friends at Prize Picks, prizepicks.com, America's favorite daily fantasy game. And I can only tell you so many times, all I do is win.
I'm for real.
Okay.
Who are you, Kirk Signetti?
All I do is win. You go ahead and Google me.
I'm for real.
Last night on the pick that gives you prizes, can we talk about Mikal Bridges? What is that thing you call a jump shot?
Dude, it's bad.
Where did Lonzo Ball give you his mechanics?
Because it's garbage.
I needed my guy to have 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and he was building a brick S house last night. So he only had 18. Ant had he had more than 14 points. It doesn't matter. He was half a point. He was the Prize Picks promo.
Right.
I think he had 21 points. I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. I won on that. And then, my friends, listen. Yeah, I'm good looking. Yeah, I'm smarter than you, right? I hit the driver 300. It's everything you want in a man. Why don't you listen to me about Anthony Davis? What is it? What is it that is preventing you from coming over to the dark side and supporting Anthony Davis as the best defensive player in the NBA?
After the street clothes Davis.
What is it that is preventing you? And if it's rectal, I totally understand.
Yeah.
What is preventing you from embracing Anthony Davis as the best defensive player in the NBA? the way that he dominated Rudy Gobert last night. Real quick, what have I always told you about Rudy Gobert? It's the worst contract in the history of the NBA. Not anymore. You guys see what Minnesota did yesterday? Anybody catch that footnote on his crappy ass performance in Los Angeles last night? He opted out of the final year of his contract at $43.5 million. He opted out. Re-signed a much smaller deal. So you gave away $43.5 million. Fire your agent. Rudy Gobert was the problem for the Jazz, but here nor there. Here he sucks. Here nor there. Good luck against France shooting. And again last night, what did we see in pregame from the Gobster?
Just draining threes.
Congratulations. How many of those you hit in the game, Gobi? Oh, none. That's right.
He has our full respect.
How many times did Anthony Davis block you? Multiple times. Who's the best defensive player on the floor last night? Not Gobi. No, it was Anthony Davis. That's his new name. Because I've decided that Rudy, go be average for the Timberwolves. Rudy, go be stupid and give back $43.5 million.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You go be you, Rudy. Because come to the dark side. Embrace Anthony Davis as the best defensive player in the NBA because he is.
Yeah.
And I'll just be over here and you can Google it. It's too far. You probably don't get that reference anymore because you don't care who Kirk Cignetti is. He coaches at Indiana. You're irrelevant, bruh. Anyway, the point is Anthony Davis last night, just so that we're all on the same page, not only did he have 36 points, not only did he have a steal, 4 dimes, 16 boards, not only was he 13 of 15 from the line, he had 3 blocks, 1 foul, and 1 turnover.
Nice job.
The guy is unbelievable. Meanwhile, Rudy Gobert, 14 rebounds. Cool, dude. 2 assists. No steals, only 1 block and 4 fouls. Minus 10 last night.
Y'all feel me?
I'm fine. It's cool.
Yeah, man. Nice job.
Ant last night.
So wait, does that officially take you over 1,000 in your account? I know we were looking at that.
It does not.
Oh.
Anthony Edwards last night had 27 points. So I kind of thought he had more than 14.
Good to have the NBA back.
Yep. 2 out of 3 I won last night. We call that a flex play. Get it? Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. WNBA is over, so it's going to be more difficult for you to win. I won so much money on the WNBA this year. And all you guys did was give me crap over it. Tried to help you. The stadium guy, James. Dark side, no. Much nerd I sense in you. Okay. It's early to smoke crack, but that's fine. Ferris Khan. Tremendous amount of early voting. Decision has been made.
Why?
Okay. Troy, go Buck guys, go. AD is the Cam Rising of basketball. No. Because Anthony Davis is younger than Cam Rising.
Notice AD hasn't had Fingergate.
That we know of. I mean, charges could be pending. Phil Venzer. Well, if there were fans at UConn, they could throw bottles on the field to get the call overturned.
Unfortunately, there's not.
That's a bitter Texas remark. Phil, always good to see you. Jade Barrett made a hell of a play on that ball.
Yeah.
In that it was thrown right to him and he caught it. I mean, if that's a hell of a play, like it's hard to defend Gobi. I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, Indiana is ranked higher than Alabama at the game of football. Savor the moment in time. Yeah, because it ain't going to last. Kyle McCord is Drake May 2.0. Drake May is a superior quarterback to Kyle McCord. Patrick Mahomes, according to Bronny James, master bricklayer. Patrick Mahomes disowned Dylan Raiola after Saturday's performance. All right, let's get into the breaking news on the Marty program.
Hey, Marty.
The Kansas City Chiefs are trading for DeAndre Hopkins from the Tennessee Titans and they're only having to give up a 4th-round pick to get him. What do I like about this move? You're all in the three-peat. Totally get it. What do I hate about this move? Well, it does involve the city of Kansas City and the Chiefs, and nobody likes either one of them.
Right.
And Chiefs fans yesterday, see, this is what I love about YouTube. It'll bring the globe to your front door. Chiefs fans yesterday said I was low class because you're rooting for Patrick Mahomes to get injured. No, I'm not rooting for Patrick Mahomes to get injured. I think we'd all like to see it, but that doesn't mean that I'm kidding. What I'm rooting for is a bro that benches 500 pounds to come and knock him out of the side.
Stay hard.
Listen, if you're an NFL quarterback, and I think this is an important point of clarity, if you're an NFL quarterback, 9 out of 10 guys, not named Vontaze Burfict, are going to allow you to run up to the sideline and step out of bounds without being touched.
Facts.
But when your brother's a douchebag criminal and you decide to juke guys and show them up and make them look silly because you stop like you're going to step out of bounds and then you step around them and you run down for 17 more yards, and then somebody tries to take your dome off, don't expect the referee to throw a flag. They will, because Patrick Mahomes, you can't look at him without getting a flag. But it's not that I'm low cash. The low cash move is exploiting somebody's courtesy to you. They're holding the door for you, Patrick. You could say thank you. And when you don't say thank you and they let the door hit you right in the face, don't say, well, why'd you do that? You don't show up NFL linebackers and then think that somebody's not coming for your head.
Yeah, I mean, you notice how everyone's celebrating, the goal line run over the safety moment, right? Everyone's saying, oh, Patrick Mahomes and dad bod, and he's incredible. But yeah, if you're gonna sit here and make defenses look silly, they will get theirs. And I'm telling you, when it comes to the 49ers, at some point that team's going to be healthy again, and you will see them. And at some point that will come back around. And
what do all the cool kids say? I'm coming for your neck.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, and I also would point out for all you're rooting for Mahomes to get hurt, guys.
I'm not.
Like, hey, dude, the question of how do you beat the Chiefs is very simple nowadays, especially, and again, DeAndre Hopkins, back end of his career, not a number one anymore, but still can contribute for them at a solid level. Even with that, the way you beat the Chiefs is you got to get to Pat. And if you don't, he's going to tear your ass up, just like he did last year and the year before, and just like he is this year. So it's not us rooting for dude to get hurt. What it is, hey, if you're going to go to the sideline and you're not going to step out and the defender was allowing you to step out, okay, well, now the defender's got to hit you. Now the defender's got to drop you. Now the defender has got to Cam Rising your ass into the Gatorade cooler, and we got to move along.
Cam Rising your ass.
That's what has to be done.
Into the Gatorade cooler.
That's what has to be done.
Okay. Phil Venzer says, I hate ACC officials. Apparently so does Jim Mora. Danny Hernandez. Wow, kind of love Mr. Mora right now.
Yeah, that's gangster.
USC has gotten screwed by the officials multiple times this year. I was talking to a USC person yesterday. He's going to get fired if they don't run the table. Or I should say, the boosters will move to fire Lincoln Riley if he does not run the table at SC. It's happening already. Tanner Plummer, they should have asked him about the playoffs. Playoffs? No, they shouldn't have. Don't. It's fine. It's fine. Oak State James, I was texting like Yoda talks. You mentioned the dark side. I know what you were doing. Do you really think I don't get it? Do you really think I didn't get it? Do you really think where's your other comment? We get a lot of comments. There it is. Do you really think I don't know that you're talking like Yoda in this comment, bro? Are you serious right now? You need to go back to seminary. Boyd Lake, KC rolling again. Hopkins is a great ad. He's a dominant space receiver. And the thing that you like about DeAndre Hopkins on the Chiefs, he does not drop the football. You throw it to him, he catches it. He is, and you look at some of the guys. that they have brought in. Mecole Hardman comes to mind, obviously. But you start looking at some of the guys like Kadarius Toney was the 2022 trade they made. He is 3 times better than Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
I think he is like Mecole Hardman, I think plays a role. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy that even at this late stage of his career, if we are in red zone or 2 minute and we're looking for 7 yards, he's going to find a soft spot in the zone and he's going to be open and I'm going to throw him the ball and I know he'll catch it.
Yeah.
Because when you're defending the Chiefs right now, you can't play man because Patrick Mahomes is a mobile quarterback. You've got to play zone. And I think it is, Boyd, I think you're exactly right. I think it's a really solid ad for them. It's not spectacular. It does not win them a Super Bowl. Travis Kelce's going to have to get out of his T-Swizzle haze because he's got to be a better player. He has got, because right now, if you look at where DeAndre Hopkins fits into the Chiefs offense, he fits into the flat. The middle of the field should be Travis Kelce. You should have Hopkins. You'll use him for motion. He'll be the guy that will out what the defense is doing. So you'll run him in motion a lot. And Travis Kelce conceivably have a little more space between the hash because those linebackers can't take away the middle of the formation anymore. Because DeAndre Hopkins can run that 7-yard soft zone route and catch the football. So you would think that would create more space in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Will it? We'll find out.
And by the way, they deserve a lot of credit for actually going out and doing a deal. We've spent all season talking about the Cowboys not making deals.
Yeah, but shouldn't we be talking about the Chiefs trading for Cooper Kupp right now? Though, I mean, if we're being honest, isn't Cooper Kupp the wide receiver that this team needed?
Yeah, but it's better than doing nothing.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
But I agree that whoever you want to point to, the Bills, what's his name?
Amari
Cooper. Amari Cooper wasn't the guy you needed in this offense. You can't count on Amari Cooper to catch the football in key situations. We've seen that in Dallas. We saw it in Oakland. We are watching it in Cleveland. Now Buffalo. I think Devontae Adams, who the Chiefs tried to trade for, would have been the ideal candidate. But Cooper Kupp, even with the injuries, are you really trying to make the argument that Cooper Kupp's not the guy that a team on the verge of a three-peat? That's a guy you needed.
Mm-hmm.
The price tag was probably too high. And I understand that. DeAndre Hopkins, veteran, not making a ton of money. He doesn't drop the football. Okay, it's a good addition. I'm not knocking it. Cooper Kupp's the guy you should have gone and got.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. I look at, the transactions that are happening this season in the NFL with the trade market, and I just, not to be a hater of the Cowboys, but every time I see a deal go down, I'm like, bro, this was available to you. Like you could have spent more money, and it's just not happening. And I almost feel like it's this thing where we have to ask, like, at what point do teams like the Cowboys or any of the other teams at their level start to prioritize bringing in more talent to help their quarterback?
Do you guys understand that the Kansas City Chiefs, to start this season, had the 12th easiest schedule? And now, adjusted for performance, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL, behind them and in front of them. They don't need I think there is a legitimate chance they go undefeated because their schedule is just so gosh darn soft.
Right.
And you look at who's another elite team? Buffalo. Buffalo needs an edge rusher. Edge rusher, something terrible. They've got to go get Khalil Mack. Will they do that? I don't know. I think we're going to find out. But what's Kansas City really need? I still think they're a receiver away from winning another Super Bowl. This move does not win them a Super Bowl. I think this move beats most of their opponents. I don't think this move wins them another Super Bowl.
Well, and I think if you're Kansas City, the thing you got to be asking is, are you good enough to beat Baltimore in the conference championship game with this group?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not, because if Derrick Henry, did you guys hear Jerry Jones talking about Derrick Henry? Bro, I just don't understand this. The Dallas Cowboys need to make trades and they need to offload. They need to send guys out, get their salary cap set up. Jerry Jones goes back on his radio show. And why are you still talking about Derrick Henry?
In my mind, we're not playing very good football right now at all. And it's beyond whether or not we have Derrick Henry or not. Derrick Henry is having a career year. I don't know if he'd be having that career year in our situation. And that's really something you really do have to look at. Because if he had not had as many carries as our running backs have had, then he certainly probably wouldn't have attained the level of impact he's having. And then he's a real good complement to the type of offense they run. We don't run that type of offense at all.
Why would you say that out loud? He wouldn't have succeeded here. Like, I'm amazed. Like, he's saying the quiet part out loud now by himself. Like, Jerry Jones is telling you our system's flawed, our chemistry sucks, and we don't have an offensive line. You have a better quarterback, more capable quarterback of throwing the football in Dak. He is not the runner that Lamar is. But what's the major difference between Baltimore and Dallas? They have a dominant tight end and a much better offensive line.
Right.
But you are paying CeeDee Lamb, who's a malcontent and not a franchise receiver. Like, he keeps talking, and I don't understand it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what the
I
strategy
don't get
is.
it. What is this guy, again, I say it all the time with powerful men. Most of them talk too much. Stop talking. Jerry, please stop talking. Because you embarrass the city of Dallas and the Dallas Cowboy fan base every time you say stuff like, I don't know that he'd have succeeded here.
And saying that you're not, that the offense you run is just not conducive to Derrick Henry, essentially, is not like, I don't know, like,
he just broke off Tampa for an 81-yard run, dude.
Yeah, and by the way, during that 80-yard run was over 20 miles an hour running down the field. So,
and what did he say? I've got to find a way to be better. I've watched my two big runs where I got Derrick Henry yesterday talking about getting chased down from behind, saying, I got to be better. I don't know. I feel like I'm running in quicksand at 20 miles an hour for 81 yards. That's crazy to me. Outrunning linebackers, outrunning DBs. That's not what NFL running backs do anymore. Well, unless you're King Henry, but he wouldn't have been good in Dallas. Like, do you understand how that, like, logically speaking, makes you look like hot?
Yeah, you're terrible, dude.
Hot
ass.
But you just keep talking, Jarrah. You just keep talking.
He's got no class.
It's wild to me. It is wild to me. Tanner Plummer's daddy, what makes you two experts about football? Nothing. We don't watch football or the Jazz. So, real quick, speaking of experts on football, did you guys see BYU?
Oh, man.
And I know that this is probably going to tweak some folks. Did you guys see BYU has an open checkbook for basketball recruiting? And AJ Dybantsta, by anybody's measure, is the best. I think he's the best basketball player in the country at the high school level. He is at Utah Prep down in Hurricane, Utah, Southern Utah, which is basically a reimagined IMG Academy. I think that's the old RSL Academy. They relocated it. They now call it Utah Prep. It's down in Hurricane. The kid transferred to Utah Prep. And they're talking about throwing $4 million. Oh, wait, let me. Ryan Smith is talking about throwing $4 million at him to get him to play basketball at BYU, who's on his list. And I think it's probably going to happen. If you, and I understand, I'm the Ryan Smith guy on the show. I supposedly am a hater. I don't know Ryan Smith personally. But let's say that Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge get together and cut AJ a check for $2 million a year. And it's a $6 million NIL deal. Jazz fans shouldn't take note of that. No pun intended.
See
How
what
about
he
that?
did there. See what he did there.
Jazz fans shouldn't be like, wait, you traded Walker Kessler and you're paying this high school kid how much? Those of us that are worried about Abravanel Hall and how much had the billions of tax dollars that Ryan Smith is taking home. Wait, did you just cut a $2 million check to a high school kid to play at BYU? I thought you
needed money.
This is a bad look. I'm telling you right now. And I know it's cray. I am telling you right now, this is a bad look for the Jazz and for the Utah Hockey Club.
I don't understand.
This is a bad look.
I don't understand. Now, look, I understand Danny Ainge is a BYU guy. Obviously, Ryan, of course. I get that.
They bought and paid for Kevin Young.
Another great point that no one's talking about. Totally agree. But my point here and what I was going to say is that you're Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge. You're in that building every day. You damn well know the perception issue might be strong, but the perception challenges that you're working with as far as, hey, the Jazz aren't good. The hockey club's the new toy in town. You know, like Ryan Smith seemingly on a daily basis is tweeting about how incredible Delta Center's schedule is this week. And so you're pushing that hard, which I get.
Totally understand it.
You two didn't consider that, you know, this information getting out and it being reported as you two are on a united front to go out and get recruits for BYU, and you're going to pay them wild money to do that. You didn't consider that would be like probably not the best marketing position, the PR position. Like, that's what surprises me. I don't have an issue with the concept of alumni or basketball folks at BYU contributing to NIL to get better talent at BYU.
Absolutely.
That's the world we're in. That's how the process works. Totally get it.
But Ryan Smith is an elite business operator. Nobody questions that. Why so publicly? Why so brutally out in the public eye when you're taking $1 billion tax handout? That I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't have it. Frankly, if he had just under the table given that money to a collective, let's say, and said, hey, I would totally get that. If you were supporting Utah Prep, which a lot of people think he is, I don't see their books. I don't know that to be fact. My opinion is Ryan Smith is likely supporting Utah Prep. Because why else would this? It's in line. The kid can go to any college basketball program he wants. You transferred to Utah Prep in Hurricane, Utah. I like my friends at Hurricane. Great golf in Hurricane. It's Hurricane, Utah. You don't even know where that is. And it's not Hurricane, Utah. It's Hurricane. You don't even know where that is.
Yeah.
This kid went to Utah Prep after it was the RSL Academy. And you don't think he's going to BYU? You're out your goddamn mind.
And again, I want to make it clear because every time we bring up Ryan and the Jazz and the hockey club, all the hyenas and the haters come in the comments and say that, oh, well, you guys just hate him because of this or won't come on the show or whatever. Like, you guys have your laundry list of reasons as to why we allegedly hate Ryan Smith. I don't hate Ryan Smith. Yeah, I don't hate Ryan Smith. It's not personal at all, even a little bit. And we go out of our way to say that every single time. It's not personal. But what I'm not going to do is just look at that post yesterday on Twitter, be like, oh, like I'm now responsible for paying 0.5% sales tax in the state that I live in to fund the Delta Center renovation. And this dude's out here on a joint front with Danny Ainge, who was supposed to be the innovator of this franchise and supposed to bring a championship here, and hasn't been given the tools, in my opinion, to do that, most notably money. And y'all are out here trying to pay for recruits to go to BYU.
It looks like you're a couple of friends who enjoy basketball, and you're more focused on building BYU than you are on building the Utah Jazz. That's what it looks like. Tell me how it looks different than that. You've spent no money to upgrade the Jazz. The Delta Center is getting renovated through the hockey program. Like it's a bad look in my opinion. It's a bad look in my opinion. And, you know, I would rather they had done this quietly.
Yeah.
Mountain Mama, hello. So Ryan is putting money into BYU basketball and Utah hockey, but does not put much love into the Jazz. He does not. He does. And remember, he was going to take what Gail Miller had sustained and build on it and win a championship. And it's all he's ever dreamed of. Apparently it's not all you've ever dreamed of. Fat old Mormon and dying. 4 million. Sounds like Ryan Smith is liquid to me. Yeah. Jeremy Bolton. Heck yeah. College NAL is like the pros now, except without any rules. Without any rules. Exactly right. Tanner Plummer's daddy. These two hate Ryan Smith because he won't come on the program. No, I don't hate Ryan Smith. I disagree with just about everything he's done with the Jazz.
And I have to say, bro.
And it's gotten worse now because of the way the money's been handled with the hockey team.
I have to say, bro, I was a big fan of this account name when you started it. You've been disappointing so far.
You have been.
You've been incredibly disappointing so far. And
I would agree.
And
whoever you are, whatever your acronym is, and what you're hiding behind, that's up to you, man.
And it's getting to a point where you're saying things on a daily basis that just are patently false. Like we've asked Ryan to come on the show a million times. He doesn't come on the show. It is what it is. We share our opinion. Notice we're not scared to criticize Ryan. Notice we're not scared to talk about it openly. So it has nothing to do with Ryan coming on the show or not.
Yeah, nothing.
And
don't care if he comes on or not.
Yeah, like
because frankly, it does not help me if he comes on the show.
Yeah, at all, even a little bit. Like,
which is fine. Jeremy Bolton. I think Kalani should take note more than the Jazz, probably. Bronny James, master bricklayer. Henry had an 87-yard run a few weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's been awesome for Baltimore.
Yeah, and it's why Jerry saying those things is incredible to me. I'm kind of with you on this. Why is it that business owners of that caliber, like of professional sports teams or of that like level, want to come out and say this stuff? Like what? Like but I understand
it's what they do though. Look at Elon Musk. Look at Donald Trump. Look at all of the titans of industry allegedly in this country. How many of them are actually what they're purported to be? A lot of them are not. And whether it is Hollywood, what's a massive Hollywood scandal? Harvey Weinstein, not who he was purported to be, right? Jeffrey Epstein or this cat from Abercrombie and Fitch, I think it was.
Yeah, former CEO.
They're not who they were purported to be. And I think guys like Jerry Jones and Ryan Smith, who are so publicly out in front, they're not used to losing. Jerry Jones, outside of the Cowboys, has not lost much in his life. You go look at that dude's story. He don't lose much. You look at a guy like Ryan Smith. What is Bill Gates? What is Steve Jobs? You look at the guys that we're talking about that are like these massive business operators. They don't lose much. You know, and you look at the younger generation, whether that be the Joe Rogans or like Dave Portnoy is a perfect example. Those guys talk for a living. So when they put their foot in their mouth or they wind up getting sued or you understand it. Guys like Ryan Smith, they care so much about their reputation.
Right.
And in this state and in the LDS community and in the LDS culture, your public perception is so unbelievably important. Like he cares about his image. And I think he's so insulated that he doesn't have to worry about what Jazz fan thinks because it won't impact his bottom line. Because fans will still go to games. They'll still buy the $2 beers. Do you think he's not going to sell beer at Delta Center? Will Ryan Smith drink beer in his personal life? Of course not. Is he selling beer in the Delta Center? Damn right he is, because that's how he makes money. Like, it's anyway. Yeah. I think you guys get what I say. Ron, dude, it's stupid comments like this that's why I just want you to understand. Anytime we talk about something in the church, Ron Nolan shows up and makes an ass of himself, which is why I don't read your comments anymore.
Yeah.
Fat old Mormon and dying. Ryan Smith is the collective. Indeed, he is. His source of finances, the people of Utah. Indeed, they are.
Yeah.
Indeed, they are. You know. Geoff, thank you for pronouncing hurricane correctly. It's hurricane.
Yeah.
Nobody knows it's hurricane. Right? Boyd Lake, Monty is so impressive. Gets how to pronounce hurricane Utah. He probably even knows Arizona folks pronounce Prescott, Arizona. It's Prescott.
Yeah.
Correct. It is Prescott. Correct. Post-Dispatch.
Right.
It's not Post-Dispatch. People get crazy. They hate on Ryan no matter how much they deny it. And in my opinion, he earned some of the hate. Hate is not the word. I don't respect the way Ryan Smith has gone about his ownership of sports in this state. It's not that I don't hate guys. I don't hate people. I don't respect him. The way that he is, when you flaunt your leverage, it's hard for me to respect that.
And by the way, I might add, the difference between hate and having a conversation about things is when you hate, you say things like, yeah, Ryan Smith is a terrible owner because the Jazz suck. Ryan Smith is BYU's terrible, so Ryan Smith is terrible. Like, that would be hating. That would just like surface level, you're terrible because like that's not what we're talking about. We've talked in detail about our issues with that and why there's not that much respect there and why like it's so I've never understood why people say like when people call us and ask like, why do you guys not like Ryan? It's not that we don't like Ryan. It's a process and an ethics and a morals conversation that I just disagree with how he's going about this. And to me, that's not hating. That's having a real conversation about the situation.
Yeah, and I think any of these guys that we mentioned, Steve Ballmer's another guy, like any of these guys that are publicly out there that are titans of their industry, their personal lives are a lot of times a wreck. I mean, you look at the most guys that are like, you don't know what happens behind closed doors with anybody. And so when these big scandals come out and Bill Gates is having affairs allegedly, or Bill Clinton's, sampling interns in the Oval Office, or is it really that surprising that men of power and influence take what they think they want? They don't go through process. So it's not surprising at all. It's not surprising at all. Bronco McFord. Steve Jobs was a douchebag who denied his child to avoid paying child support. Truth, in my opinion. But I feel like he was a titan of industry and he saved Apple, which I would agree with that. I've always had a lack of respect for Ryan Smith on the show. That hasn't changed. It has not changed. There's a lot of things. Anytime you say something and you don't live up to that standard, and I think we're all guilty of that on some level. But when you're a billionaire and you're doing that publicly and it's impacting the people, the citizens of your state, that's a problem. That's a problem. Big Daddy Magic. Hey, playa, I don't drink the Utah Jazz Kool-Aid anymore. Are you going to AEW tonight? What is
wrestling?
Oh, AEW is wrestling.
Yeah.
That'd be a no. I don't even know what AEW is. Old Tatanka. It's simply constructive criticism and informing people. It's truly, you guys, it's not personal.
Yeah.
San Diego State Glenn. Good morning, Glenn. Well, if you saw the Laker game last night, quote, it's single digits, not single digits. Fun exchange. It's single digit, not single digits. Okay. I'm not sure what that's a reference to.
Appreciate you, Glenn.
And I did watch most of the game. The eye patch. Business is business. Honor code BS goes out the window. Well, there is some of that. There is definitely some of that. All right, a couple other things I want to get to before we end our crusade this morning. What did you guys make of LeBron James last night? Maybe I'm naive. I've been accused of that on this show before. I was a little surprised that there was so much hate in the world for LeBron playing with his son. And obviously, what's the main thing we heard? Well, he doesn't belong there. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Is Bronny good enough to play every night in the NBA? No. But why is that a problem? You're LeBron James. You're the greatest player of your generation. I think it was an awesome moment. And I don't know, is this just what we've become as sports fans now, that we rip guys for everything?
Well, I think that LeBron doesn't get to have it both ways, in the sense that you're right, he is the greatest player of his generation. And as part of that, people are going to hate. No question about it. People are going to point out that Bronny is not an NBA player, which I agree with. Bronny, didn't earn that spot. I agree with that. I think that the Los Angeles Lakers, and we spoke about this earlier in the week, I think the Los Angeles Lakers understand where they are and where they're going. They understand the LeBron era is coming to an end, and they want to make it feel good. They're willing to go out of their way to take care of Bron, and I don't have a problem with that. He's earned that. He's brought them a championship. No matter what you say about the bubble situation, that's still a championship. In my opinion, he's lived up to the billing in Los Angeles so far. I don't think there's really any way around that. So if you're hating on Bron, it's because you don't like LeBron James, which is fine. That's your prerogative. But watching a father and a son take off the warm-up unis at the table and check into the game, that was a cool moment. And I also might add, LeBron's had several cool moments over the last couple of seasons that I think, were great for the game of basketball. So yeah, I mean, I thought it was a cool moment, but I think it's hardly the storyline from last night for the Lakers. Like, really? Like,
yeah, I think it was a headline because it's never been done before. And I thought it was cool. The Griffeys were there. And it was an opening night situation. And I had no problem with it. And it doesn't mean that, Bronny is as good as his dad. He certainly is not. It doesn't mean that he deserves to be there. But I do think you have to give him credit. The guy almost died a year ago.
Yeah.
And I think that coming back from that, the USC situation, going through all the hate, the flack that Bronny's getting is unbelievable. I'm thrilled for them. I feel like LeBron's earned that. He should have all the ability to write his own ticket, in my opinion. I'm thrilled for LeBron and Bronny. That must have been, that dunk LeBron had with Bronny right there on the floor had to be one of Bronny's all-time highlights as a basketball player. And he's always going to be, and he always has been, LeBron James's kid, for better and likely more for worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so last night, I just thought it was so cool. Like,
and I agree with the people who are saying that he's going to spend a lot of time in the G League this year, which he should. He needs developmental time. And if he said to me, hey, Bronny's going to spend most of his rookie season in the G League and develop, and then that sophomore year is going to be a lot better, where, he can contribute 10, 12 points a night, and he can facilitate the offense, and he can do things. Like, I don't doubt. Like, I'm not the guy that's sitting here saying that Bronny is just a terrible basketball player. That's not my take. My take is that he needs to become a better scorer with the opportunities he gets. He needs to get better at converting those opportunities, specifically when LeBron's driving down the lane and kicks it to him on the wing. That's a three you got to make, man. That's an NBA down in, down out type play. That's a shot you have to make if you want to be an NBA player. And I think the exciting part about Bronny's game is he has LeBron's basketball IQ. He's got the vision. He knows where guys are supposed to be. He can facilitate. And I think that truly, if he makes it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in the league, that will be his game for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I thought it was a good moment for them. And I guess I'm not that surprised that he got that much hate, but We can't have nice things. Bronny James, master bricklayer. MJ's sons were better. Bro, they were not better. Michael Jordan's kids were not elite basketball players.
No.
They were not good college players. And I, having grown up as a Michael Jordan fan in Chicago, understanding who Marcus was, and trust me when I tell you that his kids were not better.
Well, Jimmy's been really good for Miami, man.
Well, and I'd also point out, you don't know what strings Michael pulled for them and what not. And while not getting into all those details,
Right.
Trust me when I say you can hate on LeBron all you want with this comment, but Michael pulled strings.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan gets what he wants. There's no question about that. Roche, goat hating, it comes with the territory. It does.
Yeah.
I agree with that on some level. Eric and Raleigh, and damn Gobert for not turning the ball over once more.
Yeah, a little surprised by that, dude.
Yeah, I was not in on the Gobert turnover thing because I just don't think they give him the ball in leverage situations much. So, fat old Mormon and dying. It was a cool moment, sure, but boo the Lakers, boo. Well, and I think that's exactly right. Stepanek says LeBron might be in trouble with the P. Diddy thing. Well, if we had any idea what was real and what was fake, because the YouTube has taken down so many fake videos, and there was a picture of LeBron in a maid outfit that was completely AI generated. I mean, it's wild to me. I see, like, the Diddy thing is a perfect example. You have no idea what these guys do behind closed doors.
Right.
I have no idea how involved or not involved LeBron is with Diddy. And I think this is the Epstein conversation. There's the sycophants in the world are like, man, I hope it's true. Why are you hoping that LeBron was involved in that? Why are you hoping that whoever was on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane and island? Like, that's not good
for anybody.
So let me get this right. Do you think there's upside if LeBron was in, whatever the worst implications are of LeBron being involved with Diddy? Do you think there's upside to that? Who is that good for? Nobody. It's a terrible situation. Terrible. Roche, Bron and his boy playing together is so cool. I wish I would have known to tune in. It was fun to watch them come into the game, and the building came to life, and you could see all the other guys on the court. He actually defended pretty well. He was nervous with those 2 threes, but
which I don't blame him for.
Yeah. Bronny just screams that daddy got me here when he's not qualified. Maybe. Bronny's good enough to play in the NBA as a bench player. He's a 9, 10, 11 guy on your bench. He's young. He's going to have to develop a lot, but he can already compete defensively. If he can, is he ever Royce O'Neal? Can he ever make a 3 and play consistent D? I think he can. I think he can.
Maybe Kentavious Caldwell Pope style player.
Is he right now? No, he's not. He isn't. Alex McCluskey. The pressure that Bronny has on his shoulders has got to suck almost as much as Caruso's airport security guards. I agree. Can you imagine the unbelievable amount of pressure? Or you can stay off social media all you want. You're going to hear it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the taunting Bronny James is going to get on the road? I can't even imagine that. Can you imagine them sending him down to the G League? I can't even imagine that. I thought, the best part about that? I thought they were so smart to get it done and not let it hang over the team. Because it would have hung over the team. When are they going to be on the floor together? Get it out of the way.
Yeah, and I think JJ's done a good job so far, too.
It's opening night. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Bronny James, he's not even good enough for the G League. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. If you think that Bronny James, without question, showed us in the preseason and showed us last night on Anthony Edwards that he can keep legitimate ball handlers in front of him. Because you got to defend in the NBA for 3 seconds. Basically, you've got to be able to hold your own. And once he grows into his body and continues to put weight on and he continues to put muscle on, he's going to be an elite on-ball defender. He's already keeping a guy like Anthony Edwards, and he got a finger on a Rudy Gobert pass last night that was supposed to be a shot, I think. He's already competing. Charles, he should have stayed in college longer. Then he doesn't play with his dad. LeBron's not getting it. LeBron is one jump from his career being over.
Right.
And he knows it. Because at his age, what is this, his 22nd year in the NBA?
Mm-hmm.
But you guys realize I was at his first game ever in Sacramento.
And what a game.
Ugh. Anyway, the point is, he's one dunk away from his career being over, or one broken wrist, or Kobe Achilles. One play away from it ending. I don't think you should have stayed in college longer. If you can play in the NBA on the same floor as your dad and you can make history being the first ones to ever do it, I'm not staying in college.
No.
Did you notice all the commercials he's got going too? The guy's making money and he's got an NBA contract. I'm not staying in college. I'm not doing that. The eye patch. Hard to live in the shadow of a future Hall of Famer. Bronny will get paid playing b-ball. Good for him. That's what I say. He'll never live up to anybody's expectations. It's impossible. You should hate Ryan Smith, though. I don't know what you mean by that. What does that mean? Dude that abides. It's a novelty of a father and son playing together in professional league more important than a pro team putting the best possible squad on the court. Did you watch the game? Bronny James isn't taking... There's this belief that Bronny James is taking a better player's spot. He's one of the last guys on their bench. He's not taking a better player's spot.
So his 3 minutes last night?
What are we talking about? I don't think that Bronny's not there instead of.
Like,
would there be another scrub in his spot? Yes. By the way, who was the 15th guy on their bench last year? Does anybody remember? You don't remember either. There is. I have to go look up who was at the end of their bench last year because I don't remember. And neither do you, because that's whose spot he's taking. He's taking guys that like their least. Let's see who played the least games on that roster last year. Sterling Brown, Scottie Pippen Jr., Cole Swinder, Devon Reed. We're upset that Cole Swinder's not on the Lakers anymore because Bronny got a free pass. Come on, dudes. Like he is not a player of consequence, right? Like he's not a player of consequence. No. And I don't know that he'll be at any time this year, but it's a cool story.
Yeah.
Neither was Bronny. Neither was Bronny what? Eric and Raleigh. Damn, Jake. Okay.
I don't know what I said to warrant that, but
it's not about deserves or doesn't deserve for me. It's the best move for a pro franchise. Having Bronny and LeBron on the team together sells more jerseys, sells more tickets, even though they're always sold out. It has people talking about them on SportsCenter. What's the number 2 story this morning on SportsCenter?
Mm-hmm.
The DeAndre Hopkins trade. When I woke up this morning and looked at my phone, what were all of my notifications and what was everybody tweeting about? The picture of the Griffeys and the Jameses on the floor together. It's absolutely good for them, right? We'll see how it plays out over the season and after Bron retires. Yeah, I think that's right. Giggity. MJ is John Stockton's daddy. Is Stockton not better than Bronny? Let me ask you this. Did John Stockton's son get a deal with the Jazz because his dad is John Stockton? He did. Come on. UW fan Jim. I don't think Monty and Jake don't hate. They just criticize. Sometimes they're biased as hell, but not out of hate. Yeah, I would agree. I have opinions. I just don't hate people very often. What is better than ESPN having a love obsession with LeBron? Well, it's better than their love obsession with the Cowboys.
Dude, it's every day. And if it's not the Cowboys, it's Aaron Rodgers.
God damn. Like, it's constant. San Diego State Glenn, the end of the bench player for LA, missed 13 straight threes to close out the game and missed the NBA record 24. Was that? No, that was the Celtics last night, I thought. Didn't the Celtics miss 13 straight threes? But McCluskey, don't get me started on the Cowboys. Dude,
it's bad.
I'm so tired. The Cowboys aren't even going to. Are the Cowboys going to make the playoffs? Do you guys think? They're not making the playoffs. They got beat by the Lions 47-9.
47-9.
47-9.
Not like 21.
47-9.
Good Lord.
So, real quick, finally, before we get out of here, are the Knicks a mess, or was that just game one on a new roster?
I don't think they're a mess. I think it's game one on a new roster. I also think this Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, us against the world because we didn't play a ton of minutes in the Olympics or didn't make the roster thing.
Jaylen Brown didn't make the Olympic roster.
Yeah.
And Jason Tatum didn't play a meaningful role. And they're saying that those two things have put a chip on their shoulder and they're out to prove a point.
Yeah.
Well, go beat Golden State however many times you guys play this year. Congratulations. Right? Like, I think what we saw last night, Jason Tatum has a better jump shot and they play elite defense still. But are the Knicks a mess?
Yeah, I don't think they're a mess. I think that it's exactly what I said yesterday. You got to give them time to play together. You got to give them time to gel and to become a unit. I this Bridges jumper thing, it's not good, dude. And I don't know what happened to your jump shot or what you thought you were trying to fix, but that jumper is not better than it was last year. His defense is fine. He's still the same player that way. But, there were many, I'm watching this game and I'm like, man, that looks uncomfortable. That doesn't look smooth. So I don't think they're a mess. I just think you got to give them, like I said, 20 games. Give them 20 games and then make, pass judgment. Make
sure you hit the like button. Super important. We have well over 1,000 views today and only 43 likes. So if you're here right now, please hit the like button on the Monty Show, presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, where you get clear, risk-free advice 24/7, 365. You can chat with an injury attorney online and it won't cost you a dime. We'll start, obviously, I would think that this trade will be, DeAndre Hopkins will be final tomorrow. We have Thursday night football tomorrow, both college and pro. A lot of football on the show tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.